This is the true story of an Australian battler who is being hard done by a government department. This is the story of a man named Taffy who lives all the way out here in the middle of the Kimberleys, 240 kilometres away from the nearest town. Over the years, Taffy has persisted against all odds because he loves this country and everything in it. He has spent the last 20 years converting a derelict run-down cattle station into a tourist resort. Taffy's future now lies in the hands of the Department of Environment and Conservation of Western Australia.
G'day, my name is Taffy Abbotts. I have a story to tell you. Over the last 20 years, I have created Mount Hart homesteads and gardens into an icon of tourism in the whole of the Kimberley, in partnership with Department of Environment and Conservation, formerly known as CALM, Conservation and Land Management. At 64 years of age, they've now informed me that they are not going to renew the contractor services I had with them. After November 11, they're going to take it out for expressions of interest and have large corporations interested in the place, which means that I'm not going to get a chance in hell. The contract agreement I've had with D.E.C states that they are supposed to pay for all capital developments they approved, as well as major maintenance work performed to their assets. But over the years this has not occurred, and the majority of capital developments and maintenance work has all been completed by myself and funded by myself. When I first came to Mount Hart at the end of 1990, Mount Hart homestead was extremely run down. It had been in receivership with the elders for 3 years, and only the bare minimum had been spent on the place. There was the original homestead, which was semi-derelict, an old ramshackle building known as a canteen or mess, the manager's house, which was also derelict, and a couple of sheds. D.E.C had declassified Mount Hart as a viable cattle station and took over the property, turned it into a proposed conservation estate. I negotiated with CALM in the order to set up a tourist business out here under a contractor's services license agreement. The original semi-derelict old homestead when I came in was no door frames, no window frames, bare concrete floors, whitewashed walls. No two window frames or door frames were the same size as each other, and all the doors and the windows had to be made individually. Originally it could only sleep 5 people, so with the approval of CALM I renovated the house, adding more rooms so that it could finally house 13 people overnight. I also added a stone sitting room. Each one of those stone blocks came from over 50 kilometres away. It took me 3 years to restore the original homestead and convert it so it was suitable for guest accommodation. After this, with the approval of CALM, I set about building the dining room. I gutted the derelict canteen, keeping the existing roof. Then laid a cement slab, erected the tin and steel walls, and that took me around about 8 months to do. In latter years, I bought tiles and tiled and paved the whole dining room. Over the years, I gradually extended and extensively renovated the kitchen adjoining the dining room, once again at my own expense. I then built and paid for the construction and did all the work on creating an office at the side of the dining room, and you can see by some of these photos what it was like before I started. I got all this done, and when, with CALM's help, we built a new homestead, so now we're able to take 23 guests overnight. CALM put up the majority of the funds to build the new homestead. We built the frame, put on the roof, poured the cement slab, built the walls, and with a team of men. Once that was all done, off they go, and I was left to render the walls, paint the walls, wire the whole thing, put up fly screens on the verandas, and finish it off ready to start the season. Then I converted a 2-bedroomed demountable cottage, so now we could take 27 guests overnight. Then the bar. That came from the old Mangrove Hotel in Broome, where Ken Fitzpatrick, the owner of the Mangrove at the time, said if we could get it down in 3 days, we could have it. So we got it knocked down, and then I transported it all out here, and then reassembled it. In between all of this, I was doing up my house. Now this building was just about derelict. It used to be the old head stockman's quarters. This building had 3 tiny little rooms in the centre of it, no fly screen left on the verandas. All the old floors had been coated in sunpall to stop them rotting. So I gutted the walls inside, And then I had to put up a new ceiling because the old ceiling was collapsing. Then I got another one of these demountable cottages, built a frame at the side and put that on top of it and connected it up into the main homestead, and then built another bathroom on there as well, and that now is livable. Doing up my house was not a priority because it wasn't for guests, so that was spread out over quite a length of time. Also, after the new homestead was built, I had to build a new large toilet and shower block, of course, for that building. Then we had to do the gardens up. When we came here, they were pretty dead because it hadn't had much watering, while the elders had it in receivership. And over the years, spent many thousands of dollars on landscaping and replanting trees. You've got the natural enemies, termites, cyclones, dry rot, borers. There's always something that's going to try and kill your garden, but you've got to keep on top of it. Also, I grade and roll the airstrip 3 times a year at my own expense. There's a lot of work involved in maintaining an airstrip, and it's critical because that's how we get the flying doctor in if we need it. We also get a mail plane once a week that delivers freight, and especially in the wet season, you can't get out of this place for about 3 or 4 months normally because of all the creeks on the way in. I've got a contract with the local shire to grade my access road, and fortunately I get paid from the shire to do that. I'd grade it 3 times a year, which 50 kilometres, 34 creek crossings, and a lot of rock. It takes about 5 to 8 days to do each grade. 2 years ago, I finally got permission from D.E.C, CALM, whichever you call them, to build a new campsite about 800 metres away at the site of Stumpy Fraser's old house, but it had to be on altered land. But I built that whole campsite and the amenity block, landscaped it, levelled it, put water in and everything, all at my own expense, and D.E.C CALM did not put 1 cent in towards that. Then that's the building side of things. Most years we had bushfires to fight. We just had one the other day. Came in on 3 different fronts all at the same time, and that's to protect the D.E.C assets. Now then, you wonder where all this is going. Back in May, only 12 months later than we'd asked, some representatives from head office in Perth for D.E.C came up to discuss what was going to happen at the end of 2011. Well, they told me they're putting it out for expressions of interest, and they told me that they're not taking my business or any of the fixtures or fittings as a going concern because they deal in land, not businesses. And that had a separate valuation on it of $305,000 as long as it had a 20-year lease. But failing that, what have you got to sell? Some beds, some tables, some plates, and that's about it. It would cost someone a hell of a lot of money to get all this stuff again that I've got. Dishwashers and washing machines and stoves and everything, but you try and sell it at an auction and you get nothing for it. Everyone's out for a bargain. So this is where we're at now. It's heartbreaking in a way. I got the place valued. Proper professional valuer came in at the end of last year, did a valuation, and he valued the replacement costs of capital improvements at $1.9 million, which is how much it would have cost D.E.C over 20 years if they had to pay for all of the capital improvements that have been done. Well, then we just took away from that stuff that D.E.C CALM had paid for, and the replacement costs of improvements came to $1.3 million. I also have photographic proof of all the work I have done and the labour I put into it, sweat equity, as well as financial statements and receipts. And that goes to my lawyer, it goes to D.E.C, they sit on it for 11 weeks. Then it goes to the state solicitor, and the state solicitor comes back and says, in actual fact, D.E.C don't owe you anything. Well, you can imagine how I felt to that, but they did turn around and say, well, okay, well, we'll give you $200,000 instead of $1.3 million, but you've only got 28 days to make up your mind if you want it, otherwise the offer's withdrawn, and you can't have this $200,000 until you've vacated the property, given the keys to the D.E.C representatives, and then wait 7 days after that for them to do an inspection to make sure that I haven't trashed it. How is that for trust? 20 years of building their assets, and they treat me like this. Well, we haven't finished yet. I'm not going to give up, but it's heartbreaking. It's morally and ethically wrong of what they're doing. They don't care. They're big corporate, big government body. Everything here has been put in with blood, sweat and tears. As I said at the beginning, it was a partnership between Department of Environment and Conservation and private enterprise. This is an example of a partnership taken with the government. It better be a partnership in hell with the devil. It'd be a lot easier to control. Well, I told you I was telling you a story, but it's not always a nice one, is it? This is not just about a monetary issue anymore. It has become a moral and ethical victory that we want. I've been told by D.E.C officers, but you've had a lifestyle for the last 20 years. Let me tell you about a lifestyle. We're working from sun up till sundown 7 days a week. We don't knock off at 4:21. We sent them a DVD saying what we'd done with photographic evidence of before and after shots with me working on these buildings. Not only the cost of the materials, but the sweat equity I put into it. And they do not want to believe that. Then they're going to put out for expressions of interest. Put out expressions of interest on what I have created over the last 20 years for someone else to come in and take over. There is no justice in this. There is no fairness. And it is total bureaucracy at its best of inhuman, unfeeling bureaucrats. If I had not done this, there'd be nothing to take out for expressions of interest, because it would still be a rundown derelict cattle station. An ex-Shire president said to me today, Taffy, what you've done there has put Mount Hart on the map, and they should be proud of what you've done, because no one else put in here would have put in the dedication, hard work, sweat equity, all finances to create it. That's me. I cannot do anything half-hearted. It has to be done to the full maximum potential to improve things. Okay, if any of you can do anything to help that ever sees this, do it please. Thank you. Bye.